You're not lazy. You're not weak-willed. You never had a discipline problem. Psychology shows something most people never learn. Motivation was never built to last. It spikes, then it disappears. Discipline works differently. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It just moves you forward. And once you understand why, you stop blaming yourself for something that was never your fault. There are real psychological reasons behind this. They go deeper than most people realize. 1. Have you ever watched someone else stay consistent and wondered what they have that you don't? You start comparing your effort to their results. But here's what's actually happening. Psychologists call this the visibility gap. You see their outcome. You don't see their low days. Because every consistent person still has mornings they don't want to show up. You're not behind them. You're just further from the finish line, not from the starting point. 2. Do you wait for the right mood before you start something hard? Most people do. This is because motivation is a feeling, and feelings are chemical weather. They shift with sleep, stress, and blood sugar. Discipline bypasses the weather entirely. It's a decision made once, ahead of time, so you never negotiate with yourself in the moment. That's not coldness. That's protection from your own unreliable moods. 3. Think about this. Have you ever needed someone else to cheer you on before you could act? That need isn't a flaw. It's a sign you were shaped by environments where effort had to be noticed to feel worthwhile. Psychology calls this external validation dependency. But the moment you stop needing an audience, your consistency becomes yours completely. Nobody can take away a habit that doesn't depend on their applause. 4. Have you ever kept a promise to someone else instantly, but broken the same promise to yourself without a second thought? That gap is common. It's because your brain treats other people's expectations as real consequences, but treats your own expectations as optional. This is called the self-contract effect. Once you start treating your word to yourself as unbreakable, everything changes. You stop needing outside pressure to follow through. 5. Do you ever feel like your motivation runs out faster than everyone else's? It's not that you're weaker. It's that you're likely more aware of your own internal state. Highly self-aware people feel resistance more intensely because they notice it instead of pushing past it unconsciously. That awareness isn't a weakness. It's the same trait that lets you catch yourself before old patterns take over. 6. Have you ever pushed through something exhausting, only to collapse right after? That's not failure. That's what psychologists call ego depletion, the idea that willpower draws from a limited daily reserve. You didn't lose discipline. You spent a resource that every human has in finite supply. The people who seem endlessly disciplined aren't immune to this. They've just learned to build systems, so willpower is rarely required in the first place. 7. Think about this. Do you rely on last-minute pressure to get anything done? That isn't laziness. Your nervous system is wired to respond to urgency, because urgency once meant survival. Deadlines create a false sense of danger, and your brain answers danger fast. The goal isn't to hate this about yourself. The goal is to build small, low-pressure deadlines on purpose, so you're working with your wiring instead of against it. 8. Have you ever noticed that your best days happen when you don't think about the task at all? You just start. That's because discipline isn't really about force. It's about removing decisions. Every choice you eliminate in advance is one less moment where you might talk yourself out of showing up. This is why the most consistent people aren't the most motivated. They're the ones who made the decision only once. 9. Do you sometimes feel guilty resting, even when you've earned it? That guilt often comes from confusing worth with output. Somewhere along the way, you learned that rest had to be justified. But real discipline includes recovery. It's not the absence of effort. It's the intelligent management of it. The version of you that rests on purpose is not falling behind. That version is playing a longer game. 10. Have you ever changed completely, then slipped back into old habits within weeks? That's not proof the change wasn't real. Psychology shows most transformation isn't linear. It moves in loops, not straight lines. Slipping back doesn't erase progress. It's simply part of how new identities get tested before they become permanent. The people who succeed aren't the ones who never slip. They're the ones who return faster each time. You were never missing motivation. You were missing a system that didn't depend on how you felt. Discipline was never about being harder on yourself. It was about being kinder to your future self, one small decision at a time. The people who stop chasing motivation and start building discipline don't become perfect. They become steady. And steady is what actually changes a life. Not one dramatic burst of willpower, but 1,000 quiet choices nobody else ever sees. The people who master discipline without motivation often become the ones everyone else quietly studies, wondering how they make it look so simple. Hit subscribe because the next video might reveal something about yourself you've never been able to put into words.